Authority for Metropolitan Nashville. I'd like to welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled meeting this morning. I would like to thank our partners, the Tennessee Titans, for their hospitality this morning and for inviting us to meet and visit here at the St. Thomas Sports Park and Metro Center. I think this is the first time that the board has met here, and we're enjoying this nice facility. We appreciate the hospitality extended to us with the early coffee and sweet rolls and orange juice. In particular, I'd like to thank Janine Kaufman, the Titan CFO, for putting our meeting together today and arrangements and so forth. Now, on the notice of appeals, as we move into the agenda, we always begin the meeting by pointing that decisions of the board may be appealed. Information on appealing decisions may be found on the website or in today's board agenda. The first item on our agenda is to look at the minutes of the November 19th meeting, and after you've had an opportunity to review those, then I'll accept a motion to approve these minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move adoption.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. They are approved. And we'll have our esteemed executive director's report. Toby?
Well, about esteemed.
Give them all the credit I can.
For having us out. It's been great to work with Janine and Walter and Don on this. Having folks out to the facility today, it is neat to be somewhere different, and we appreciate that very much. In today's packet, obviously, tab 1 was the minutes of the board from the November meeting that you just approved. Tab 2 is my executive director's report to the board, which includes a few additional items that I'll comment on in a moment. Tab 3 is the Bridgestone Arena and Nashville Predators report. It does include materials for Ford Ice Center. Obviously, Sean will comment on those items in a few moments. Our fifth item will be just a quick capital update and report, which Sean will also do. The Titans will provide their report today. Walter Overton is our friend who will deliver that, and I'm sure he'll want to talk about the Music City Bowl as well because of the fantastic success that we had there over the New Year's weekend. And then we have a few housekeeping items. One is an across-the-board salary increase that the Metro government approved for all employees. It took effect January 1st. This is a housekeeping measure for our board to simply approve that for our staff. And the 8th item is this meeting schedule, and I'll comment on that a little later, and we'll kind of round out the meeting today by doing our annual board elections. Behind my executive director's report, there are a couple items I'd like to bring to your attention. One is we met last week, Bob Lackey, Margaret, and myself, and Monica met with representatives from the Titans for our annual major capital expenditures. So there is a spreadsheet here prepared with some of those line items. This is not something that will be brought up today. I just want to bring it to your attention. Within our Metro working group, we have a few questions and a few follow-ups for the Titans. We'll get that. We'll bring that back to the board at a future meeting for consideration. But I always like to make sure that you have that and it's put before you. Another item that's in here is the First Tennessee update. The park is going great. Anybody that's driven by there lately is going to see not week to week improvements, but day to day. There's about 300 people a day down there working in 7 shifts, and so we've got 12 weeks. You know, it's amazing to think that we're under 100 days right now. So there's a brief written update. The team from Gobble Hayes had an obligation this morning and was unable to join us, so they provided a written update to the board, which has a few highlights. But I'd like to point out, and we haven't had him to the podium yet, but I'd like to point out that Doug Scopel from the team is here. And Doug, if you want to come up, Doug is a longtime employee with the team, is working really hard, and we're beginning to work now with Doug and kind of transition and think about opening day and kind of the opening season operations. And Doug's going to be our liaison to the board from the team, and he's, like I said, he's been around the team for a long time, so he has that history, but he's also become a good friend, and we're at a lot of Tuesday meetings and now beginning to have a lot of daily discussions. Doug, if you want to say anything.
Sure. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us here. I've been at a few meetings thus far and look forward to be a more active part of this as we get up and running. As Toby said, there's a lot of people working out there. The facility's coming along great. We're excited about it. 85 days from today we'll be playing baseball, which seems like tomorrow. A lot of work still needs to be done, but we're out there selling tickets. We're ramping up marketing, doing a lot of things as we normally do to prepare for a season. Plus, this is an extra special season for us. So that's really all I have. Individual tickets will go on sale sometime in March. Right now, we have season ticket packages and smaller mini plan type things available. So we'll give you more of a thorough update later on.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
And I believe that in February, our intention is, as we convene as a board, that we'll be really kind of doing a deeper dive into issues around the sounds, opening day, how do we access the facility, parking, and things of that nature. So that'll be a conversation that we'll do in January, and there'll be, I'm sure, multiple representatives from the teams and others who will be present. The last item that's in tab 2 that I'd like to point your attention to is our bar report in Metro. Within the finance department, they always provide updates on where we are from a budget standpoint. There's really not a lot to point out in terms of the Sports Authority specific budget. This is our kind of operations budget internally. We're on track. I spoke with Greg McLaurin yesterday. We kind of reviewed it. We don't have any issues. There's nothing really outstanding to point out. So we're about halfway through this current fiscal year, and we're fine with where we are today. Rich Riebling, the finance director, obviously instructed us last week to start the budget exercise with a 3% cut. The board members who were around last year will recall that's exactly what we did last year. So we are confident that we'll go through this process and propose something to the board that will not impact service. It will not impact our staff, and we'll be able to make those cuts kind of around the edges, if you will. And of course, we'll cross our fingers that we actually will not be cut 3%. Last year we started at 3%. We were cut to about 0.6. So we didn't suffer a gigantic decrease in our funding. So with that, Mr. And one other thing, this weekend, I look forward to going with many of the Predator staff to Columbus for the All-Star game. They'll comment on the All-Star game, but we have a delegation from Nashville that's being spearheaded through the Sports Council and the Predators, and we're going to go and kind of explore and learn what it takes to put an All-Star game on. So we'll bring that information back to the board as well, because 1 year from now, we'll have one of the biggest events we've ever had in Nashville with the NHL All-Star Game. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my report.
Any questions for Mr. Compton? Anybody have a question? Okay, we'll keep moving right on down the agenda, with the next item being the Bridgestone Arena report. The Predators are off, as we know, to their best start ever, and have several representatives going to that All-Star game this weekend, including the coach. Sean, tell us what's going on with the team, the Ford Ice Center, and of course Bridgestone Arena.
Well, I like starting off with applause. It wasn't always that way, so thank you. Before we get into the boring side of the report, October and November's financials, just hitting some highlights. Obviously, you hit on the biggest one, best start in franchise history, which is tremendous. That's the good news. The bad news is we have about 40 more games to go. But it's nice to be sitting where we are, because really now the focus is on the second season. That's playing games in April, May, and ideally into June. And hopefully, the biggest event we ever host in Nashville happens this year, and is complemented by next year's smaller event. So. You know what I'm talking about, right?
The cup.
Right.
The cup. Bring it.
But it is exciting. We have 3 All-Stars on our roster. Obviously Pecorine will not play because of his injury, but if he had to get hurt, having the best possible time. You get a free week of rehab, this week. We don't play again until next Tuesday, and he'll be well rested for, again, the important part of the season. That's the springtime. The better news is, our coaches, the entire coaching staff goes. It used to be just the head coach went, but now the entire coaching staff goes, which just further allows them to get together, to focus on what's going to happen next. But it's really nice to see the recognition that we're getting. The other thing at the halfway point, and again, the experts are experts when they say nice things about you, and then you dismiss the experts when they say bad things about you. But right now, the experts really are experts. And when they give out the half-season awards, we had Rookie of the Year of the Calder with Philip Forsberg, who's just having an incredible season, shattered our rookie points record in 39 games, which is absolutely incredible. We have the Hart winner, possibly, that's the MVP, in Pecorine. The Vezina, the best goalie in the league, Pecorine. And then the Norris Trophy winner in Shea Weber, who he's been a finalist the past, Jerry, 4 years or so. Always with the closest finish in the history of the NHL that he beats the very next year. So hopefully this is the year. Also Coach of the Year, the Jack Adams, and we think the Executive of the Year for David Poyle as the GM. And you look at some of the moves he made in the offseason, it wasn't just the coaching staff and bringing a few of the free agents. It started with the trades that he made last year. We traded Marty Erat and David Legwan, brought in Jan Krok and Forsberg. Real good news is Fiala, kind of our young stud, played over in Europe. He showcased himself during the World Games. He came over and he's going to play in Milwaukee this year, just like Forsberg did last year. And ideally, he adds strength to the roster next year. So the exciting part of where we're sitting right now isn't that we're in best winning percentage in the league. We would have the most points, but Anaheim has 2 more games than we have. The fun part, the exciting part, is the team is built to be successful for years to come, and that's what you want. The past 2 years, we missed the playoffs. The past 2 years, the only focus was getting us to the point where we are today. Again, that's not just having the best winning percentage in the league. It's being in a position to be a very good team for a long time. The core is solidified, it's locked up, and ideally, we just continue to build on where we are right now. So on the arena side, things couldn't be better. I mean, last year the numbers were slightly better. Last year we were completely front-loaded. If you remember, best September we ever had, best October we ever had. This season it's a little bit more backloaded. I feel pretty confident we're going to catch last year's record-setting numbers. We're pacing ahead of the budget year to date. We just announced the second Kenny Chesney show. So you have Jack White, Jason Aldean, WWE Raw, Maroon 5, Fleetwood Mac, 2 Kenny Chesney shows, Stevie Wonder, Alan Jackson, my favorite, The Who, coming up. All those shows should sell out, and that's what's pretty exciting. Next year, for next fiscal year, we have 5 shows on sale already. 4 of those 5 shows are already sold out. So again, we're not just set up well for where we sit right now. It's over the long term. We're positioned to always be a top 10 busiest building in the country, because once you are, it's a little bit easier to market yourself, stay relevant in that level, and ideally someday finish as the busiest building in the country. Madison Square Garden looks over their shoulders once every decade, but now they're starting to look at Nashville a little bit more often, and that's nice to have. Polestar, one of the industry giants of the trade rags, if you will, and they're only a rag because they keep snubbing David Kales as Executive of the Year and our building as Arena of the Year, nominated every year, haven't won yet, but they're hosting their event convention here in February, and we'll find out if they win this year. I think this is the year. It should be anyway, because when you look at someone that books buildings across the country, you're hard-pressed to find someone doing a better job than David Kells. You look at how we manage our schedule from the CMA Festival, the hockey schedule, the SEC tournaments, the NCAA tournaments, the circus, all the family shows we're doing, which we add virtually every year, and normally that would take away from each one of them. It's just the opposite. We continue to grow them. You guys are just doing a phenomenal job of where we're sitting right now. That bleeds over to Ford Ice. We always talk about one entity, one company. Things flow in and out of each other. When we broke down those barriers between the arena and the team, you look what happened. We're a winning franchise. We're built for the future. The arena's killing numbers. Ford Ice was no different. The only difference is we didn't have to knock down any barriers because we built it with you guys, and it's with our staff. Danny Butler, our GM, is sitting in the back right now. We have sales staff that sits over there where they sell our family shows and our concerts and hockey. We have people in Bridgestone Arena that sit there and sell ice time and birthday parties and tournaments. And this last weekend is probably the best example of what we thought we could do with Ford Ice. We had, I think, over 40 teams come from around the country. We had over 1,000 kids come through the facility over the 3-day weekend. We had 2,000 kids come through open skate on top of the tournament. So normally a lot of arenas shut down or rings shut down when you do these big tournaments. Danny scheduled it so we have to stay open for open skate. That's why we built it. We built it for the air. We built it for Nashville. So by allowing that schedule to flow in and out, we had a record number of open skaters. It helped that it was a beautiful day. The park was full. The library was full. The rec center was full. It was one of those great, great weekends. But even more importantly, 6 months into our operation, or just under 6 months, we pledge that we do $50,000 a year in scholarships and free programs, for kids that live in the area. We're sitting right now at about $70,000 that we've already donated and brought kids through it. We'll probably end up at over $100,000. Having Vince Gill's name on top of that, saying we need more kids skating, we got to make equipment available, helps. Having our players step up and writing checks to buy equipment for kids and outfitting them and paying their registrations. A lot of our players only played because of someone else's generosity. It's really neat to see them paying it forward. Had conversations with one of our players last week because we practiced out there last week. He said, okay, how do I get involved? What do I have to do? And literally took his checkbook out We're going to brand that program around him. And the whole idea is with his name on top of it, with Vince Gills, with Scott Hamilton, it really allows us to change what we can do. So Toby, just so you're aware, we spent about 4 hours on Thursday walking around the parking lot to see where to put the third sheet of ice and the fourth sheet of ice. So hopefully we're having those conversations pretty soon. I know you all think I'm kidding. You should. He's not here, so we might as well agree to it now. And Bob's nodding his head, so we're all good. But things really couldn't be better. Again, on the team side, record number of sellouts we're pacing for this year from concert lineup, just incredible. I mean, we're just in a really nice cycle right now that once you're in it, you know, it's a lot of work to stay in it, but it's nice to be in it, giving you that chance to stay there. Again, from the report standpoint, you have them in front of you. You know what they say, a lot of adjectives about how great things are, how wonderful they are. When you flip to the year-to-date numbers, we're pacing ahead the bottom line budget by about $150,000, $200,000. That's going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to outpace that very aggressive budget and ideally try to catch last year's numbers too. And, you know, I keep saying it, it's rare where you have back-to-back good years in this business. The fact that we've had 5 years in a row that have surpassed the prior year, we might finally be up against that 1 year that we say, I don't know if we're going to be able to catch it. I'm still pretty confident that we will, but we'll see. If we can match them, that's going to be tremendous. But we're just sitting in a good spot.
What about the Lexus Lounge? How's the fan experience been? And
well, if you haven't been in the Lexus Lounge yet, you should, because it, and thanks for the tee up, the Lexus Lounge is outperforming anything we thought it could do. You know, for us, from a hockey perspective standpoint, we wanted to provide an amenity for glass seat holders, row 2 holders, another 100, 150 seats in the lower level, really provide a level of entertainment that you don't have in this community. So it's worked well there, but more importantly for what it's done for us, for the CMAs, for the SEC, is it allows us to have a hospitality area for their use, for their clients, that changes what we are, and they want to come to the facility a little bit more often. The group from the SECs, they've come down for 3 different hockey games, 2 different concerts to see how we use it, for different events, and they're excited about it. From a CMA standpoint, they made it kind of part of the show, where it was an adjunct, not so much a dressing room, but it was a wardrobe area. So you had stars coming off the stage, running through the club, coming back out with kind of a new outfit on and going back out, and it really changes what it was for them in their VIP area. And what's really nice about it, for all of our concerts, first priority is given to members, but after that, goes out for anyone that can buy into it. It is sold out for hockey. It sells out for most, big concerts before we even go out to our season ticket holder list. But once you do, it allows other people to come in. But what's really nice is how shows are using it. If you haven't been down there, we have a 45-foot TV or a 15-yard TV that simulates what the game looks like, as if you're sitting center ice. We put cameras in to simulate what a concert would look like, staring straight on the stage, and knowing that it'll be really hard to work with the production companies to say, this is what we can do, let us try it. And now we do it for virtually every show. So if you're down there early, or they're down there with their management staff or touring group, which is the main reason we built it. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to come back more and more and more. They sit in there now. They don't even leave. They don't go out to the show floor because they can see what it looks like a fan does, as opposed to just seeing it on video. So it's just killing it. Absolutely knocking it down. So. If you have no other questions, I'll get to the really boring part of the presentation, which is also exciting.
Okay.
And that's the SIF update, or Capital Improvement Fund update. Kyle Clayton is here. He prepares it. So if you have any questions, I'll just quickly turn to him. But to date, we've done about $9.6 million in projects. We've paid in about $3 million into the fund. And if you remember, I always say that $20 million umbrella. You can never take down more than 5 years of the prior earnings. But we're sitting in a nice position right now with only about $6 million taken out. If you remember, the main reason we looked at reworking with First Tennessee is to expand the program to a degree, to take care of one of the biggest eyesores we have, one of the biggest production problems we have from a facility standpoint, and that was really changing the inner bowl of the building. It's kind of 3 different phases involved with it. But basically, everyone's going to think about we're replacing all the seats. That'll happen over a 2-year period of time. We'll do the lower level first. Then we'll do the club level and upper bowl the second year. Lower level gets more wear and tear, but more importantly with the lower level, what we're going to do is, if you remember, the first 13 rows of our building are all aluminum retractables, telescopic seats, go up and down, different shows, you bring them in, you pull them back out. They don't function that well, so instead of being able to flip the building over, it takes us about 2 hours longer than it should. So we're changing all those out, changing all the seats. We're going to redo all the concrete work in all the bowls, down aisles, give it a completely new look. When this project is done, you're going to walk in that bowl and feel as if it's brand new. It's going to complement everything else we've been doing on the concourses, the exterior of the building. From a functioning standpoint, from a production standpoint, it's going to allow us to turn the building that much more quickly. It'll give us more ability to take some seats all the way in, some seats all the way down, as opposed to we're blocked in quads right now. So for the Women's Final Four, SEC tournament, CMAs, the CMT award shows, we can play with it in and out, circus, dirt shows. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility. We're basically finalized our contract and our deal with the provider. It's roughly a $6.1 million project. There are about 5 different contractors within that. We've talked pretty extensively over the past few months on this. I think over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll get together and do some final review, and then we'll come to the board for kind of final stamp of this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it. But we're going to be doing that project starting this summer. It's a tight turnaround. It's always fun to see a very cohesive staff that we have argue and scream and yell about our operations guys saying we got to block, good solid month of July to do this project, and then find out we're blocking 3 days in July, 6 days in June, 2 days in August, and 6 days in September. We'll get it done. It's going to be like everything else, though. That first event we're doing after the renovation, it's going to be like, are the floors dry? Are the seats bolted in correctly? But what we won't do is sacrifice a show date, to do this project. We'll just get a little bit more creative. But we're excited about that, too. So, you guys have no questions on that front or Ford Ice?
Any questions? It'll come up later for our discussion.
So, the discussion and actual vote to allocate the SIF funds for the project will be at a future meeting,
Ideally
perhaps February, March.
And then if there's nothing else, Toby, I'll pick you up my RV Friday at 9.
Yep,
For our
great.
trip. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Sean. It's always good to hear Sean with his enthusiastic reporting of what's going on at Bridgestone Arena, and it continues to be a very positive report, and we appreciate all the people connected with Bridgestone and their commitment to make Nashville a better place. We'll continue with our agenda. LP Field report. We have Walter with us, and I think to give that report and take us through it.
Thank you.
Talk about the Music City Bowl, too, I'm sure.
I shall. That's something that's very positive that we can talk about.
Yeah.
I can't say that we have a lot to talk about that's positive when it comes to our football season. It was quite disappointing. There's a lot of work to be done so that we can make the kind of improvements and to play the kind of football that the Titans are known for. We still maintain the fact that we have had 164 consecutive sellouts. That's really remarkable when you think about that. As Don and I talk about often, tickets are tough to sell. And when you are not performing well on the field, it becomes even tougher. I remember a conversation that we had just the other day. If there are 98% of your fans are okay, 2%, and one may talk on the radio and say something negative about the stadium, then everybody thinks that there's bad times that are happening. So we all have to work to improve all what we do. It's always a work in progress. It never stops. We have to improve. We have to help our contractors to improve. It's just all around gesture that we have to continue to make it happen. I'm sure that all of you all have our LP Field report in front of you. As we work to improve upon our season next year, we do know the names of the teams that will be playing at LP Field. We don't know the dates, but we do know that the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Bills will be playing at LP Field along with our traditional rivals. Pretty exciting schedule. We think we're looking forward to that. Some exciting players that are on those respective teams, and we think that we'll play very, very well next year. I myself personally have experienced playing at Vanderbilt where we've had 2 and 9 seasons, 3 and 8, so I know how that feels. but we were able to bounce back, and before I left, we managed to play in our second bowl game in history. We had a bowl game in 1955, and then we had a bowl game in 1974. So it can happen. Toby had mentioned about the Music City Bowl, which was historical in nature. We had over 61,000 fans that attended that game. It was certainly wonderful, a great weekend for our city. The Nashville Sports Council did a tremendous job in being able to lure LSU and Notre Dame, which are highly ranked, highly traditional football teams that has a tremendous fan base. Fans were all over the Music City, all over LP Fields. Fans, when the gates were open, they were coming in. They were having a great time. The game was ranked as the 6th best attended game in all bowls. I was told, and I didn't get to see it on TV because I was having to work, but I was told that the stadium and the field just looked great on TV, and that it was a very exciting time. And the weather cooperated. It had been raining prior to that, but the weather cooperated. When the sun went down in the west, the stadium was a little cold. But overall, it was a wonderful experience. Nashville certainly did shine with having the Music City Bowl in its backyard. The next highlight I wanted to mention, it's about extending the natural gas service to the stormwater pump. You all may recall that in 2010, when we had the big flood, and our Stadium Bowl was the largest swimming pool in the world, I think. This is born from that. We are in discussions with Metro Gas and AIG, Metro's insurance company, had advised that we should do something about trying to eliminate the possibility of our electricity being shut down. When the flood came about, NES substation that gives electrical power into the stadium shut down. They shut that down because the water was flooding and would damage the stadium. So in discussions with AIG, it was deemed that we should look at extending the gas line that now lies within the southwest corner of the stadium, and will run to where we can provide some emergency generators that would be next to where the pumps, and the pumps were not running at the time that the power went out, where an expansion joint down the ramp had popped up from all the pressure of the water that was underneath the stadium. So we hope that this will take care of any problem if we should have, let's not wish that on us, but should have another flood. We will still maintain some power so that we can excavate the water and not have where we don't have any electrical power, period. Moving on to our ticket tax summary on page 3. You see how Bob and Janine prepares this summary. It's a total of $3 ticket tax, okay? And that ticket tax was born from the stadium lease agreement, which was thought because of the more the stadium ages, the more repairs we will need. And so this was part of the fact after 10 years into the lease, we could enact a ticket tax that would help defray some of the costs that will be needed to repair the stadium. We started out with a $2 ticket tax, and some people like to use the user fee as a term instead of mentioning ticket tax. Nobody likes to hear the word tax, so I try to refer to it as a user fee. We started with the $2 user fee in 2010. And then in 2013, we implemented the $1 ticket tax and the breakdown shows what monies have been collected. If you go to page 4, it is a summary of just how the $2 ticket tax has gone from 2010 all the way to 2015. If you would look at the other column and stroll down to the 1,139,000, I spoke with Janine and Bob about this and to be sure exactly what the other meant. And that meant that when we did the upgrades, the stadium upgrades on the video boards, the speakers, the ribbon boards, and upgrades in the control room, there were some monies that was left from that sum that was from the bonds that was given to us from Metro. This other money was added to the stadium fund in order to meet the almost $2 million in reimbursement fees. Am I saying that correct, Janine? That's correct. Thank you. She's the CFO. She knows about that. So. But anyway, I just wanted to show some of the board members who may not have known what other meant, and I didn't either until I did some research on it, just to be sure that that's what it is about. Page 6 is the recap of the user fee that has been paid up to date. It's been a total of over $10 million that have been collected in our user fee. Page 7 is a stadium capital fund, and it is up to date with the current balance, which is $1.144 million. As Toby mentioned, we just had a reimbursement meeting on the reimbursement invoices that we seek to have reimbursed. There are a few invoices that we need to do our homework on, and we will come back to Toby and the group and make sure that we have the data to substantiate that. I think we're asking for a little over $935,000, which is on page 9. And that will leave the stadium fund with a little less than $200,000 until the new entry is made this coming year. Are there any questions?
Anybody have a question for Walter?
You know, I think it's so neat that Janine, Don, Toby work together to make this happen. I think it's certainly a wonderful situation to have a meeting here in the Titans football operations facility. You'll have an opportunity to tour it and to see all the amazing things that the professional players will, you know, how they do, how they meet here, and their locker room and the weight room, and it's just a really unique facility that I think that you will certainly enjoy having an opportunity to see it up close and the behind-the-scenes tour. Make no mistake about it. Okay. Before I leave the podium,
Margaret has a question.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I have to make sure I understand. I'm looking at page 4. So what caught my eye was the ending balance for the fiscal year 2015. But I looked at the ticket tax number, and it's substantially less this year than it was in fiscal year 2014. Mm-hmm. So can you explain that to me,
Okay.
why that is?
Janine, can you help with that, please?
The money hasn't come. Metro's fiscal year end is 6/30, and so we pay the ticket tax into Metro based off of when we get payment for season ticket holders. And so we bill and invoice season ticket holders, get ready to. So when we start collecting money from season ticket holders, that's when we collect the user fee, and then we turn around and remit that to Metro. So as our season ticket money comes in February, March, April, and May, then that's when we in turn pay Metro. So the fiscal year 15 isn't complete yet. So it's only a partial year.
I see. And so at this time in 2014, were we about at $810,000, or is that, so it's tracking like it did last year?
And actually a little bit more, Margaret, from some of the events that we were able to have this year with the Vanderbilt game, the One Direction concerts. We're actually going to have a little bit more in physical 15 than we did in physical 14.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janine.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Walter. Will you?
Okay, yes. One additional item that I really don't want to talk about because I'm losing my good friend. He has been our facilities manager for 16 years, and that's Dempsey Henderson. He has retired officially yesterday, but we got him to come today so the board we can introduce him to the board. I call him MVP because he's a most valuable person in this organization because he has maintained both facilities, St. Thomas and LP. When there's a need for someone to know something about a building, he's the one. So it's tough on all of us to think that he won't be here. He's been my blanket. When I came here 9 years ago, he taught me all I need to know. So it's painful to know he's leaving. But we have hired Jeff Reinhardt from the Powell Building Group that has maybe learned from Dempsey a lot. So there's a smooth transition. Jeff will walk in and do a great job. Jeff, would you stand up, please, and so everybody can see you? This is Jeff Reinhardt. Okay.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'd
Also,
like to
Dempsey's.
give
I'm sorry.
a round of applause for the great.
I also want to introduce to you his lovely wife, Wilma. She is with him, and she's the heart and soul of the group. Okay? Come on down, Dempsey, please.
Dempsey, I'll stand right here, but the Sports Authority wishes to give you a certificate of recognition that's been prepared and signed by the mayor, Carl Dean. It's presented in honor of your 16 years of dedication and service to LP Field as facilities manager. Through your service, you have touched countless lives. Best wishes for your retirement. And I tell you what, on behalf of the entire board here, we've enjoyed the relationships. You've shown us in places over there at LP Field we probably would never have seen. And so we appreciate you very much, and we'd like to present you with this certificate.
Chairman Elliott and distinguished board members and Sports Authority staff, Toby, Margaret, Monica, thank you very much. It seems it seems somewhat unfitting that I would get a reward for doing something that I just enjoy doing daily. I know 16 years ago when we opened the building, we did have a few issues, if you could imagine. It seems like just a few days have passed, and we've had over 200 football games. We've had 20-some soccer matches, 60 concert nights, and probably over 2,000, either club events or parking lot events and things of that nature. If you see the swan going across the lake, it just looks like he's just out there on a piece of glass. But I've been lucky to be a part of the feet under the water that are feverishly going as time goes on. So thank you very much, Chairman and Board, for this great award. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Dempsey, very much. Walter, anything else?
I'm finished.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So, I think it's worth pointing out as Dempsey closes his career, when I started at the sports authority, we had all these reports and projections of how much money Metro was going to have to spend to keep the facility at the level it was supposed to be. And because of his work, we've spent a fraction of that amount, which is a savings to the taxpayers and the city, and we still have a terrific NFL facility. None of that happened by accident, and thank you very much for your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Our next item on the agenda is sort of a matter of housekeeping. The Metro budget was approved last June. It included a 1% across-the-board increase for all employees. This increase was reflected in our budget for the Sports Authority, but in fact, the Sports Authority has to give approval to this, and I would entertain a motion that
So moved.
we approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The meeting schedule has been placed in your materials today, and I would ask that Toby make any comments on this, or if you have any questions, that you pose them to us at this time.
Chairman, as we built the 2015 board meeting calendar, which is included in your packet, the consensus of the group seemed to be that folks enjoyed Wednesdays, and 8:30 was a convenient time, so we maintained that. The calendar you'll see before you has all the dates. Obviously, we start at 8:30. We'll continue moving locations around. People have enjoyed seeing different facilities. We do look forward to going to Fort Ice in the coming months to do a meeting out there. One thing that the calendar lacks is we will not, or the proposal is that we will not meet in April because of all the festivities around the ballpark, which would be right there around that third Wednesday of the month. So we will not meet in April, and traditionally we don't meet in December. Of course, if something were to pop up, everyone will recall last year, year before last now, end of 2013, we met feverishly several times to accomplish many of the things to get the ballpark in order and ready to break ground. So we always have to reserve the possibility that we would have a special meeting. But that schedule was before you in tab 6.
Is there a motion to approve this schedule of meetings? Motion's made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, approved. Okay, that takes us down to the next item on our agenda. In accordance with our bylaws, at the beginning of each year, we have board elections, and at this time, the floor would like to open the nominations for officers for next year, I guess beginning with the secretary.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate that we keep our same board, our chairman, our vice chairman, our secretary, treasurer. They've done a good job all down through the years, so I move that we keep the same group.
I'll be pleased to second that, Mr. Chairman.
And would you conduct the vote, Mr. Perry?
I'd be pleased to. Do we need to do that by roll call?
No.
No. Very good. The nominations are before you to re-elect our current slate of officers. Are there further nominations from the floor for consideration? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. Do we have a motion to make this by acclamation, Coach Temple?
Yes.
Motion is to accept the current slate of officers by acclamation, properly moved and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Chairman, the chair is yours again.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, and I know I can say on behalf of Kim and Kathy that we certainly will perform in the way that we hope will be very pleasing to all of you. If you're not, you can vote us out.
You're very good at signing documents, really good at signing
Right.
documents.
Thank you, Ralph, for handling that.
If I may, I know there's a little extra work involved in serving in those leadership positions, and I think all of us appreciate your willingness to do that and to continue doing that on our behalf. So thank you very much.
I'm kind of a thorn here with these two beautiful women. It's nice to, it's good to see everyone here in our audience today. And again, I'd like to thank the Titans for having us here as their guests this morning for our meeting. And it would be in order to have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Our work here is
I still